Welcome to Ear Biscuits. I'm Rhett.
And I'm Link. Joining us today, not at the round table of dim lighting, but at a table we set up in a hotel suite at VidCon, is British YouTuber, vlogger, and filmmaker and friend, Charlie McDonnell.
Charlie was one of the first vloggers in the UK to reach 1 million subscribers. He's since racked up 2.4 million subs with 290 million video views on his main channel. Charlie is so cool like. That's all one word. Charlie is so cool like. His channel really took off way back in 2007 after he released a video called How to Be English. In that video, he was 16 years old. And that 16-year-old Charlie teaches us how to properly enjoy a cup of tea. Here's a clip.
I'm going to be showing you the ancient English art that is making a cup of tea. Firstly, you will need to get your tea-making equipment. This consists of a kettle, complete with water, a mug, a teaspoon, milk. I prefer semi-skimmed milk, sugar, for those of you with a sweet tooth.
Now Charlie's fan base really started growing after that video, and of course so did his love of tea. Beyond vlogging, Charlie has written and directed several short films that you can find on his channel. One of them is called The Tea Chronicles, which is a short psychological horror/comedy about tea. Here's a clip from that.
You cannot make tea to save your life. Do you know that? I've never, in all of my days, tasted anything so foul. Do you even know what stirring is?
Charlie, it was the sugar.
Yes, the sugar, it was hardly dissolved at all. It was all collected in the bottom of the mug. But the milk too. You gave me a dollop of whole and I only need a drop of semi. I bet you put the milk in first too, didn't you, you monster? It was so weak. Are you giving me decaf or something? Because I just can't.
Hey, it's just a cup of tea.
Charlie is an OG YouTuber who is still continuing to innovate on the platform after all these years. And we've always appreciated his thoughtful approach to everything he does, including the way he approached this conversation with us.
Yeah, had a great conversation. We discussed lots of things, including why at the start of his YouTube career, he was scared into deleting a lot of his videos. We also talked about working with his girlfriend, Emily, who's also a filmmaker, and the quality time they recently spent on a topless beach. And we even got a chance to clear the air over a joke we made when we followed his short film on stage at Bufferfest in Toronto last year.
Right, and we talked a little bit at the end about his new show and YouTube channel, Serial Time, so stay tuned for that. But first, we want to take a moment to mention our sponsor for today's episode, Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas.
Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and incredible 24/7 customer support. Try Squarespace at squarespace.com and enter offer code Rhett and Link at checkout to get 10% off. Squarespace, build it beautiful.
And now, on to the biscuit.
Okay, Charlie, so we're serving you tea,
Yeah, of course.
and like this is such a pressurized moment.
Are you
as you're-
judging that tea?
as you're sipping the tea, and I feel like we're failing.
Is that
I don't know.
Is that hotel tea?
No, we brought like our own little like K-cup thing, and we have like an English breakfast tea. Like literally,
Oh,
we've
wow.
just served Charlie English breakfast tea.
Did you bring the breakfast tea with you?
For you, I think.
Really?
I'm certainly not drinking any of that.
I liked when I came in, you were like, do you want a drink? Do you want water, soda pop, maybe a coffee? You didn't like offer me tea, and I was
Kevin
like...
didn't offer you tea, but I think he didn't want to
you know
pander.
What? Yeah,
Yeah.
we wanted you to make the decision. We knew what decision you would make, but it's about empowering you to make your own decision.
But
we
you
didn't
ha-
want to push the tea on you.
You have your own tea blend
I do, yeah.
that you sell.
I make my own tea. It's called Quality, my quality blend. It's kind of like a masala chai type of thing.
Is quality like a? Is it?
You're not big on tea, or?
No, actually, I love the idea of tea,
Yeah.
Yep.
but I can't make myself like it as much as coffee currently.
Yeah, I'm pretty big on coffee.
Yeah, I have a bit of a caffeine intolerance, so like tea is as much caffeine as I can take.
Okay.
Coffee just kind of sends me a bit mad.
Okay.
But is quality a brand name that then you have like the Charlie blend as part of it?
Yeah, well, my production company is called Quality Productions. and then I took that and made my own tea. So
Okay.
it's my quality.
I didn't know if it
blend.
was like Coke, like had like a Charlie soda, but really Quality is your production company. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you're literally just making this tea, like what, out of your basement or something? You've got like a...
No, I have a tea guy. I actually did a thing with Comic Relief, which is a charity in the UK.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to do something cool with me, and they suggested going to meet like a master tea blender, learning about how to blend tea. And at the end of it, he kind of made a tea based on my kind of like specific tea preferences. And then we
What are your specific tea preferences?
well, apparently I like a spicy tea.
Okay.
And I like it. Well, I kind of wanted a tea that was quite like was a bit of a treat. Generally, I'll go for what I have here today, which is English breakfast tea with a bit of milk, semi-skimmed here, which I think is half and half here.
Okay.
Semi-skimmed in the UK, sorry. And well, I should say that this tea is perfectly serviceable. It's great. And I'm not.
You've got such a way with words.
Perfectly serviceable. But
I don't know how to take that, but with a smile
okay,
on your
but
face, I feel
you
good.
tell me, because when it comes to coffee, for instance, there's such a spectrum of coffee, right? And there's a lot of bad coffee on the coffee spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Most hotel coffee that you're going to get, most coffee that's like one of those little coffee makers that's in your room, or like the weird circular coffee filter that you throw in there, or gas station
Very
coffee.
bad, very bad.
It's just horrible. It is not serviceable
Mm-hmm.
unless the only service you're trying to give yourself is a caffeine boost. But
Is there a
tea
similar
the
spectrum?
same way?
I feel like I have a pretty low benchmark for what I kind of like in my tea. Like tea bags in the UK usually come from like the scrapings of the bottom of like the factories. It's just like sort of tea dust, and that's kind of what I'm used to, and
Okay.
that's kind of like fine for me.
Tea
I think.
dust.
For a guy who now sells his own tea, I don't think you should toe that line anymore. You got to
I'm-
be like highfalutin, man.
Nah, I'm comfortable being honest with my tea preferences, which is
Okay.
that I'm not super picky. When I say this is serviceable, that's like for me that's good. Like
Okay.
I can drink it and I'm enjoying it and that's fine. I'm really am not that picky.
But is that master tea blender now manufacturing your tea, or did you sublet that to somebody else to
The master tea blender has his own like tea factory thing where he blends the tea and he can make it into bags and do all of that stuff for me. And
What is this guy like?
he's lovely. He's very, very smart, very knowledgeable about tea. Like
And
I made
there's
like
a whole video on your channel.
yeah, I made like a 3-minute video with him,
Yeah.
and it took like 2 hours to film because I just kept on asking him like really in-depth questions about tea production and the different types of tea, and like none of that ended up in the video.
It's just in your head, in
It's
your
just
heart.
I
now.
just wanted to know it for me.
And then you've got the short film, The Tea Chronicles,
Yeah.
which, by the way, you've got super cool posters. for
Oh,
sale
yeah,
for
thank
like
you.
the whole set of your short films. They're like, what, 5?
4 short films.
Four
yeah.
short films, but 5 posters.
No 4
I
posters.
want to believe there's 5 posters. There's 4 posters, but they're so
They're-
cool, it's like there's a 5th one.
What's confusing is that I got to make the series of short films funded by YouTube, and they wanted me to make 5 of them, but they also gave me a deadline, and I was having trouble reaching that. So for the last film, it's kind of like it's technically 5 films because it's like the last film is 2. It takes place in 2 parts, so it's like. The last film is twice as long as all the other films, but I split it up into 2
Okay.
parts, so I could say I have made 5 films, but there are only 4 posters.
But one of them is The Tea Chronicles, which the description is a short psychological horror comedy film about tea.
Yep.
How long was that idea brewing?
I'm just giving
I
him
just-
a death stare.
I'm wondering if you even
I
want to
just
know the answer to
really,
that question.
Really just cracked myself.
I want to know the answer. I don't
Um,
want to acknowledge how he asked, though.
It was, I guess it was like a month or so. So I was living with my friend Kyan, and he kind of came up with the idea. He's a YouTuber as well.
Yeah.
Originally, we wanted to sort of just do it as a YouTube sketch. This is before YouTube came to me and said, "Do you want some money to make some short films?" So I had
That's an interesting. I think a lot of people listening would be like, "What? That happens? YouTube can give you money to make stuff? Like,
Yeah.
how does that work?"
It was a program they were doing called the Creator Innovation Program, where they were coming to some YouTubers and being like, "We can give you a little bit of money to do something cooler on your YouTube channel, something you always wanted to do."
Yeah, we got investments through the same program to do our half-hour show, The Mythical Show, which we did 10 episodes of. So Yeah, that was like, what, 3 years ago? 2 years ago now?
Something.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's where the money came from.
Yeah. And then the idea came from Kyan moved in with me and he started making me a lot of tea. And I would always offer to make him tea, and he would always decline it. And then we kind of talked a bit about that, and felt like there was an idea for a horror movie in there somewhere. We wanted to kind of like throw in a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock references into it, and it was like we wanted to do it as a YouTube sketch. Then YouTube said, "Do you want to make some short films?" And we were writing it, and we realized it could probably work as a short film. I guess it kind of feels like an extended YouTube sketch in a way, the Tea Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's where it came from. It was Kyan's idea, and we wrote it together and directed it together as well.
I mean, I definitely want to get back to the different things you've been able to do, like the creative bones you've been able to stretch. You don't stretch bones.
No, you
stretch muscles.
If you're stretching bones, that's a problem. I think a baby can stretch bones.
I think in the UK
fully...
they stretch bones. That's why I said that.
Oh, okay.
It's a saying,
yeah.
right?
Is that a saying in the UK?
Sure.
But let's go through the whole journey. Because
yeah, sure.
I mean, you've got quite a track record just on YouTube, like going back basically all the way. But let's go back even further than that. Let's go back to
the womb,
the beginning of Charlie.
The beginning of Charlie?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember what the womb was like.
I'm sure it was great.
Yeah, well, it was perfectly serviceable. I came out just fine.
What's that first memory?
The womb was perfectly serviceable. That should be a T-shirt. One of us has to make that T-shirt, either you or us. But you go.
It could be a tea blend, which sounds kind of
perfectly serviceable womb tea. Oh
no,
gosh,
no.
that's
No.
a horrible idea.
Don't ask us to help with marketing.
I feel like I can't really remember much of what happened to me before I started YouTube, though. I don't know if you have that kind of same vibe where it feels like there's this like this kind of wall between like my past YouTube self and my current kind of like YouTube world where I can't.
Well, I mean, so your first YouTube videos, I mean, you were what, 17?
I was 16 when I first
16?
started. Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from a place called Bath originally. Which was a city founded by the Romans, Aquasulis as it was originally called. So some natural hot springs there. A really, really pretty place in England, actually. Like, I didn't realize how pretty it was until I moved to London and saw sort of like the grotty side of the city and was like, oh, I actually had a really, really nice place to grow up in. So my mum still lives there, so I go back to see her quite often.
There's actually a Bath, North Carolina,
is.
which is the oldest
Outer Banks
town in North Carolina, I think, or something like that.
That's what I've heard.
I guess it was named after your hometown.
I'd assume so, yeah. Because my Bath is like, thousands and thousands of years old.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we know how this works. You owned us, and we're cool now, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're not even going to talk about it. We're not even going to talk about it. So what is? Okay, it's a small. We're talking like this quaint villagey place. That's what we like to picture. You know,
you can picture that if you
picture like women coming out in like hoods and sweeping the front steps. Is that what it was like? And
Yeah,
there's always
exactly.
like fantasy music playing.
And we'd all sort of talk in sort of like incredibly posh accents the whole time as well.
I'm sorry, Charlie. I am sorry that we're being this way.
It's okay. I'm used to it now.
Yeah, I know you're used to it.
I've been the British YouTube guy for a long time.
Right.
It kind of just goes straight over my head.
What did you do for fun?
What did I do for fun? Well, I did a lot of acting actually. Like when I was really young, my mum. I was a pretty shy kid. I'm still a shy guy generally now, but my mum saw how shy I was, and she was like, "I want to put you into acting classes to hopefully make you more confident." So I got into doing that. Was in a lot of plays growing up when I was younger.
Did the acting work though? Did it help the shyness?
I think it did to a certain extent. More than anything, I feel like YouTube was the thing that really kind of boosted my confidence. I think I was always a pretty shy guy, and I guess that doing acting stuff kind of helped a bit. And I also kind of needed that like acting kind of like base, I think, to get into YouTube to feel confident enough to do that. But it's been a pretty slow process for me, I think.
But you don't recall it being laced with anxiety to have for your mom to kind of push you out of your comfort zone?
No, I never really felt like doing acting was like going out of my comfort zone. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I've always been pretty comfortable kind of like doing like plays and performances versus like interacting with humans normally as my actual self. I don't know what it is, but it's like there's a difference you can make where you can, when you're playing a character, which I was when I was doing plays, and we all do as well to a certain extent when we're doing like video blogs as well. I think where we have the YouTube persona, which is still pretty close to how I actually am, but it's still to a certain extent it's still a performance. So it feels like I don't know what it is about that makes it just like easier to sort of like talk to people and talk about things, and when you get to kind of like express yourself through a script that you've written instead of just sort of like mumbling thoughts to someone one-on-one, just makes it easier. I don't know what it is about that though.
Well, you're a very thoughtful guy. You can tell that there's a lot of just analytical thinking that goes into the way that you approach your career and what we see, on the internet. So I have this like image of little Charlie as like this very contemplative little kid who is like kind of a serious kid. Mm-hmm. Is that an incorrect assumption?
I think I was pretty serious. But I also wanted to have fun. Like that's why I started YouTube, is I was very much just like bored and I saw people doing it. Like I saw video bloggers like appearing on the front page of YouTube back when people actually used to get featured, and I was like, I could probably do that. I have just like the really like basic equipment, like a super cheap laptop and like a £15 webcam, and I thought, yeah, I could do that. Which is obviously very different to how it is now. I don't feel like most people can watch like Zoella and be like, yeah, I could do that. I could spend like a couple of £1,000 on a nice camera and start doing that. But back then it was a much like easier to think I could get into this. This would be fun.
But it was all just for fun. I mean, even your acting, were you thinking I'm gonna be an actor, I'm gonna be an entertainment type thing, or was it I'm still young and this is just I'm just doing this stuff because it's fun?
I think my more kind of like analytical side probably came as I got older, because I did start YouTubing when I was like 16, so I was still, I was still pretty young. I never really had like a definite plan for what I wanted to do with my life, even when YouTube was my job. Like It really was just like, here is a fun thing that I like to do, and I guess it's making me money now, so that's nice. I guess it's making me enough money now that I can move out, so I guess it's my job. But I never really it took me quite a while to actually pick what I wanted to do with myself. Like I never consciously said I want to be an entertainer. I was just sort of doing that, and it was working for me, and that was nice. It was only really in like the last few years that I kind of like decided, like I tried a lot of kind of like different like forms of like entertainment, like doing music stuff, and doing some filmmaking, and I guess doing like acting and things like that. And it was only like in the last couple of years that I thought I kind of picked filmmaking as my thing that just like seemed like the thing I was most passionate about, I guess. Having said that, I still do like doing all of the other stuff as well, but I guess now if I was to kind of like pick a focus, it would be that. But it's still like, that's still not my job. Like video blogging is still that thing.
But back when you're 16 and you're watching YouTubers, like who were the people you were watching that you're like, I'm gonna do that?
Oh man, okay, so Caitlin Hill.
Okay.
Hill 88.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you remember Blunty 3000?
Yes. Hold on.
That's
old
a puppet.
School.
School.
No, not
He wasn't a puppet.
He wasn't a puppet.
You're thinking about
There is a puppet. Who was the puppet?
the sock guy.
I can't remember right now. I don't know why I thought that Blunty was...
Because there was something that sounded like that.
No, I know what it was. There was that sock guy on YouTube did a response to Blunty, and that's what made him big.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the video or anything about it now, but it was a sock puppet responding to him. So I never watched Blunty.
I feel like I remember that vaguely.
Blunty.
Who else was there?
He was just a vlogger?
He was just a vlogger, yeah.
Okay.
Like Renetto? You talking about those
Renetto,
days?
yeah. I wasn't too into Renetto, but I was aware of him. But yeah, those were kind of the people for me. How I was like,
yeah, I mean that's first floor YouTube. I mean that's ground floor. I think is.
But
the
if
word,
we go
Bohem as well. Do you remember Bohem?
Oh
Bohem,
yes,
yeah, he was another one.
And if we dig back to like your earliest videos, the first video that's still public on your channel, you're referring to how your channel is going to change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many videos are now private?
Ooh, probably like 20 or so, I guess. So I had this really weird thing when I first started YouTubing where I was on the website for like a month or so, amassed like an audience of like 100 people. One of my featured videos was featured on the front page. I went from like 100 to like 4,000, which at the time was like, whoa, this is so cool.
And the front page was like the UK front page, or was it global?
It was just the UK front page
Okay.
back then. That had just been introduced. So I gotten featured. I was like getting an audience quite quickly. And then, YouTube had been around for a couple of years already. So there were people who were like right there at the beginning who had spent 2 years trying to like amass an audience. And then suddenly I'd come in within like a month and like gotten the same amount of views as they had. And so people were pretty pissed. They were like, they started like accusing YouTube of like featuring people irresponsibly. And there was like a little kind of like mini YouTube drama at the time surrounding me and how I kind of like didn't deserve what I was getting.
Did you respond to that? Did you talk about it publicly?
Yeah, my response was that I was too scared of what the internet was like, because my computer was talking to me and it was not being nice, and I was like, this is really scary and I don't want to do this anymore. So I deleted all of the videos from my channel, and I was like,
deleted them,
actually deleted them, and I said, I don't want to do this.
Were you thinking about this? Was this a totally solo thing at the time? 16-year-old kid just figuring this out. Like, did your parents know that this was happening? Were you talking to any friends about it? Like, or were you just like making all these decisions on your own? Because at 16, that's just kind of it's a big deal.
My mum was aware of what I was doing. Like, as pretty much as soon as I got featured was when I told her that I was like making stuff on YouTube and it seemed to be going well. But everyone, I was pretty much making those decisions by myself. And it seems like, I don't know, the right decision for a 16-year-old to make if you're getting hate online, to be like, I probably should go away from this now.
Mm-hmm.
So you deleted them, and then what?
And then it was actually Blunty3000 who made a video being like, there's this kid and people are being mean to him, so we should probably be nice. And then there was like this furore of all of these other videos being like, we support you, Charlie. And then I put my videos back up, and then I kept making them, and now I'm here.
You put them back up. You reposted them.
Yeah.
But since then you've privated them again, right?
Yeah. Some of the really old stuff has all been privated. And then it just so happened that Charlie Changes video that is like the most recent one up was just the video that I was kind of like, yeah, this is okay, I guess. This seems good enough, and I just left it up.
But they're private because you don't like them.
Essentially, yeah, they're just like really embarrassing things that I would prefer people not to see.
I think every YouTuber who's been on the platform for a long time goes through it. And it's like, okay, we went back not too long ago, like maybe a year or two ago, and found videos where we had given out our email address so people could send us things. So, whoa, we need to get rid of those.
Yeah, like a year
ago. It's like the things that you find when you
Go back,
yeah. So I totally relate to that.
Oh, that's how we still are getting all these emails.
But the backing up just a little bit, seeing as your sense of humor and your vibe is very self-deprecating, the fact that your name was Charlie Is So Cool, like what was the idea there? Like when you came up with that?
I think I wanted to call myself Charlie Is Cool. And I don't know why, because I was 16 and I thought that would be a good username. But that was taken. And so I
really?
I thought I'd go for Charlie Is So Cool. Because I thought, people normally add like numbers at the end of their username if it's taken. So I'll add words instead to be a bit different. Charlie Is So Cool was also taken. So I went for Charlie Is So Cool like.
What are Charlie Is Cool and Charlie Is So Cool up to these days?
I don't know. We
should checked in with those guys?
I haven't spoken to them in a long time. I don't know if they're still posting.
I don't know how quickly you introduced the old guy with the voiceover, which we'll play a clip right here.
You've just had the almost imponderable joy of watching Charlie Is So Cool like, which makes you like cool.
Who is that guy, and when did you start adding him into the end of your videos?
So that is Stephen Fry, who is a comedian, writer, actor in the UK. Relatively like big deal in the UK. He's kind of known as like a national treasure.
He's a good export too, though. We know about Stephen Fry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Did you know that was him from the?
I had no idea that was Stephen Fry, but now that you say it, I'm like, oh, of course that's Stephen Fry.
How did you work that? How early was that?
I can't remember exactly when it was. It was like 2 or 3 years into YouTubing for me, I guess. I did an interview on this show called Carpool with a guy called Robert Llewellyn. where he was just like interviewing people that he knew, people he thought were interesting, and he did one with me, and then he did one with Stephen Fry immediately afterwards. And I guess Stephen Fry had seen mine, and he spent the like first 5 minutes of his interview just talking about me. So I sent him a message being like, "That was really nice. Thank you for doing that. My mum wants to have you over for tea. Is that okay?" And he said, well, you can come to the recording of one of my TV shows if you like, and we can meet each other then. So I did that, and then afterwards I sent him an email being like, "You up for being in all of my videos for the rest of for the rest of time?" Like
That's awesome.
Within like half an hour, he sent over that little clip with like a few variations for me to pick from.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So have you stayed in touch?
Yeah, I see him every now and then. He still remembers who I am, which is nice.
As long as you don't forget me,
Yeah.
Stephen Fry.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's just a super lovely guy.
And then your vlogging career just started to snowball.
I think so.
Like 1 million subscribers happened within what, the first year?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. It's all still a bit of a blur to me.
Yeah.
But it happened eventually, and you know there was a long period where my channel was like the most popular one in the UK, which made me feel pretty good at the time. And yeah, I mean, I kind of like had that initial thing of like one of my videos getting featured, and then from there I felt like this kind of like weird obligation to the people who were watching me. Like as soon as I had any kind of like sizable audience, I was like, I want to keep making videos for these people. I feel like I owe it to them. And so I really just like tried to keep up the momentum from there. And like I had a few videos and things that went viral, but for the most part it was just like trying to keep up uploading stuff for a long time.
Yeah, where do you think that comes from? Because you can sense. I think that's one of the things that people really like about you, and your fans really like about you, is that you really care. There's like a deep sense of care and almost, you just said, an obligation to your fans that kind of finds its way into the way you present yourself and the way that you think about your content, and how you'll make a video about how, well, I'm going to change this or I'm going to do this. Where do you think that comes from?
I really don't know. It's always just sort of been a part of me. Like pretty quickly as well after getting featured, I was like, I also feel like I really need to use this platform to do good stuff as well. Like I don't know what it was that made me just want to be like, I owe this to these people. I have to try and be a good role model now. I have to try and use this platform to like raise money for charity. It just felt like, I don't know, just
you
felt
have
like the right thing to do.
A high sense of responsibility that
Yeah.
is very obvious in everything you do.
And there was
thank
an
you.
association with the Vlog Brothers and Nerdfighteria that I think, that was a vibe that they were certainly developing in terms of like charity work and things like that. That I think, was there a parallel track?
I feel like they might have been a big inspiration in that.
Okay.
Like, it's difficult for me to pinpoint exactly what it
Yeah.
could have been,
Mm-hmm.
but I was definitely, I was a Vlog Brothers fan before I knew either of them. I started in 2007 in, like, April, and they started, I think, at the beginning of 2007 with their initial, like, Vlog Brothers 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like they've always been kind of, like, very good role models generally on YouTube, so I guess there could have been that as a factor. Or I don't know. I like to think I'm just a nice person, and and maybe that's where it comes from.
But has it ever, has a sense of obligation? Because it's this is not an easy job. I mean, it's a fun job. We all love doing what we do, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of second guessing yourself. There's a lot of doubting yourself and your abilities, and trying to reinvent yourself and that kind of thing. Has it ever gotten to a point where you're like, maybe I shouldn't keep doing this? Maybe I should try something else. I mean, has your sense of responsibility and obligation to your fans ever gotten to a place where it was overwhelming to a point where you might wanted to stop?
I feel like I've definitely felt that before. Yeah, and when I have, I've always tried to think, how can I adapt my YouTube channel to do something different, to be kind of like challenging myself. Like whenever I get to a point basically where I just feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again, that's when I start to think, how can I change now? What is like, and I think part of that comes from just like, because I did start when I was 16, right? My content is always just like, I've been trying to let it grow up with me. So I'm trying to kind of like adapt and change it as I go on. So yeah, whenever I do feel like, I don't know, overwhelmed or just bored, or just feeling like this isn't really interesting to me anymore, I always come straight to, well, leaving entirely seems pretty drastic and probably unnecessary. And if I think about this a bit more, there's probably something else I could be doing here to make this more fun for me again.
Do you have something that you do that's like your pastime of choice that in those moments where you feel that way that you're like, okay, I'm gonna go and do this? Because there have been times in your career where you might have made like a video a month. You know, there's been some stretches like that, right? So what else are you doing in those times?
Playing video games, usually. My go-to if I'm feeling sad is to play through Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, if I'm really feeling down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's just like that's the best nostalgia hit I can possibly give myself is playing through that game. And I'm a bit of a control freak as well. My guess is that a lot of YouTubers are like this, right? Where you want to be like in complete control of the content that you're making. It's why a lot of us want to do our own thing and not go into TV. Is we can make whatever we want to make. And so part of that is like I like going back to a video game that I'm like really familiar with the world, so I can feel like completely in control of it. But yeah, that's what I tend to do if I need a bit of a mope.
But you don't find yourself
games.
thinking, well, this should be another channel, Charlie Gaming channel, and I would just play Zelda again and again. Like every week, it's me playing it again.
Always that.
I'm not gonna lie, I do have the YouTube channel, The Legend of Charlie. It's ready to go.
Ready to go?
But as and when my tentative plan for at some point in my life was to try out the whole Let's Play thing.
Is this breaking news?
It can be if you want, but I also don't.
Let's call it that.
I don't know when it's gonna launch, if ever.
Okay, well, it's there. You're gonna get some subs, man, just from that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is there. It does exist, and I have been considering doing it for a long time. And I would want to play, any video game there. But my plan would be to try
you only
and
play that one.
just the
every
specific
week,
Zelda game
all the way through.
Now, what did you think about The Adventure of Link? Did you ever play that? The original? It was like the second Nintendo version.
So that's a bit before my time. I did go back to play it, and
because has that been put out on any sort of like emulator or anything?
I feel like you can get it on like the Nintendo Virtual Console, like on the Wii U or whatever.
Because the ironic thing about this conversation is that we have Link here, and he's never played any of these. And there's a game called The Adventure of Link, which was the one that kind of like that was the first one that I like with a friend like got into. Because Link, even at the time when Link was my best friend, he still wouldn't play the games with me, so I had to go to Ben's house to play the Adventure of Link. I had a friend named Link, and I'm going to Ben's house to play the Adventure of Link.
Man. When you're living the Adventure of Link, why play it?
Oh, wow. But that one...
And if I would have said that at the time, I would have probably been cooler than I was.
Yeah. Is that
your point?
Is that your nostalgia hit then? Is that the one you go back to?
Well, I don't because I guess it would be on an emulator somewhere, but I haven't gone back to do it. But because even those, even like the original Legend of Zelda, still would take too much time for me. At this point, like my son actually got Ocarina of Time and started trying to play through that, and he got a little. He still has it, but he's gotten a little discouraged.
Bogged down. He got a little bogged down.
Yeah,
I think there's a bog in it, right? There is a literal bog that Link can get bogged.
Some bogs.
There's probably a bog in there.
So it's more about sort of vicariously watching him play video games at this point.
We want to break in here right quick just to mention our sponsor who helped make this ear biscuit possible, Squarespace.
Building a website can be tough, and even if you do know your way around coding, creating something that looks good and works well is a time-consuming affair. Whether it's for a business site, a portfolio, a restaurant, whatever else, you need a website. Even if it's just for yourself and your amazing exploits in life, like that time you did that tandem skydiving and you want to make a website about that experience. I mean, don't do that. But you do. Most people need a website. You need one. And lucky for you and all of us, Squarespace makes it easy to build beautiful websites without breaking a sweat.
Squarespace provides simple, powerful, and beautiful websites that look professionally designed regardless of skill level. No coding required. Not only does Squarespace provide you with an intuitive and easy-to-use set of tools to create your website with, Squarespace also has state-of-the-art technology powering your site to ensure security and stability. For all of these reasons, we are currently redesigning our site, rhettandlink.com, using Squarespace. We're really excited about it. It's looking great, and you heard about it here first.
Yes, you did. You can't beat the ease and simplicity of Squarespace. Squarespace gives you 24/7 online support and a beautiful website for only $8 a month. You can even get a free domain if you buy Squarespace for the year. So what are you waiting for? Start a free trial with Squarespace, no credit card required, and start building your website today.
When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use our offer code, okay? That's Rhett and Link to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for Ear Biscuits. We thank Squarespace for their support of Ears
Biscuits.
Ear Biscuits. Squarespace, build it beautiful. Well, since we've talked about video games, we should probably also talk about religion.
Okay.
So in your...
Are you sure? I can keep talking about Zelda for the rest of the podcast if you like. Depends where you want to go.
So on Wiki, it says that you identify as an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And have you vlogged about this, or is this like just something separate?
I mean, it's really like not a very important part of my life, to be honest. It is like... I feel like when I started thinking about like religion in that way, and I was like, yeah, I guess I am an atheist, then it did become a big part of my personality for a bit. And I feel like I probably talked about it. I've talked about it in like second channel videos a bit. And really nowadays it's like something that doesn't really factor into kind of like my personality at all.
Yeah. I get it. But I guess my interest is in that in the US, atheism is still pretty stigmatized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say demonized, but
because you have to, like, if you're an atheist in the U.S., it's like you kind of have to. You can't just be like, oh, I'm an atheist and this isn't a big thing to me, because then you immediately have to defend it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like a bigger deal.
Yeah, and
but it kind of seems like in the UK, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that's what you think about that. That's cool.
I think the best way to sum it up is like in the US on a $10 bill, there are the words "In God We Trust" written on it, and in the UK we have a picture of Charles Darwin. It's like it's really like not like big of a deal,
right? And if we had Darwin on any currency that would be it would never happen. It wouldn't happen anytime soon.
Exactly.
But he is on the South Carolina flag, isn't he? Oh, no, I'm getting totally
that is
confused.
Darwin. That is Darwin.
I'm so confused right now. But that's what that's what I was interested in exploring, was not like calling you on the carpet, like, okay, so why don't you believe in God?
Yeah.
But more of that cultural idea of you just finding yourself, realizing that you're an atheist because it's just something that is just, you're not called on the carpet for it. That's the culture.
I think so. That's how
everybody
it feels,
in
anyway.
the UK is an atheist.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But I think that a lot of people in the UK wouldn't kind of like, they might identify as being religious, but it's not, even that isn't necessarily like a big part of their lives. Like they might not go to church, they might just kind of like be almost just like spiritual people who just think, yeah, there probably is a God, and that's kind of sometimes as far as they go. Obviously there is, religion in the UK, and it is a big thing for a lot of people, but I guess for me growing up, it never really felt like that. And so, yeah, as soon as I realized, I probably don't believe in God, then it was like, okay, that's a thing about me that I know now. What's next? Yeah.
How old were you when you started thinking about those things?
I must have been around the time that I was like starting around YouTube. I think I was kind of like agnostic for like the first couple of years that I was like making videos. And then that's pretty soon after that. I was
Stephen Fry is a pretty well spoken. He kind of talks about these issues quite a bit. Did he influence you in thinking about those things? Were you a fan of his at the time?
I think I was a fan of his.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if it was him specifically. Like you said, I feel like it's because there are a lot of kind of like prominent atheists, I guess, in the UK.
Yeah.
People that I admired and, found out that was something about them. So that probably kind of got me thinking about it. Although I did, I spent a lot of my teenage years kind of like not wanting to go either way with it, really. Just kind of wanting to, it's kind of my default position in life whenever I can, is just to kind of sit on the fence. Unless I, kind of like feel confident enough to say something kind of new about myself.
But there's no impulse to make this a part of your sort of public identity in a way that like, I'm going to, because there are plenty of YouTubers who are like, okay, that's the atheist YouTuber.
Yeah.
Their mission is kind of to break down religious constructs, kind of expose them and that kind of thing. There's no impulse to get involved with that.
I tell you what's more important to me is I'm a big fan of critical thinking, and I'm a big fan of like science. So I talk about those things on my YouTube channel, and I have a kind of like a series dedicated to talking about science. But it doesn't really feel like a worthwhile thing to me to be like, I want to talk about atheism. It just feels like, I don't know, it feels like a certain like conflict that is not really fun to get into a lot of the time. I like to talk about the things that I kind of believe in that I think are like important to me, which a lot of that is like critical thinking in science. That's kind of like, if there's any kind of like spiritual part of me, it comes from like hearing about amazing things from the universe. So that's kind of the thing I want to like impart to people. If there's anything, I want to look at the positive side of like the things that I do believe in.
And what's that series called? I know that I watched a few of these.
Fun Science.
Fun Science.
Yeah.
Which you've tackled different topics, including what?
What have I done? The first one was on the moon. I did one on light, one on sound. I've done one on
This was like a year
Saturn
and a half ago.
as well.
I seem to remember.
Yeah, and I've been like wanting to kind of come back to it for a long time as well. Although I kind of feel like it's one of those ideas where if I did come back to it, I'd want to do it as a more produced kind of thing. I kind of would want to do it like a kind of show on my YouTube channel. As opposed to how it was before, where it was just like I do a video blog and it's called Fun Science, and I'll talk about sciencey things now. I'd like to see if I could do it again, how I could turn it into like a bigger thing.
Is stargazing and breast gazing one of those? I don't think it was. That was just a vlog.
No, that was just that was me off in Gran Canaria, where we went stargazing on the holiday at some point, and also a lot of women had their breasts out. So.
Well, let's talk about that.
Sure.
So this is a topless beach.
No, it was just a beach. Just many beaches that I would go to there, and it would be like, oh, you just got your top off. I guess welcome to Europe.
And then
where's the beach?
It was on an island called Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands.
Okay.
And what's your interaction with those?
What, with breasts?
Boobs.
What do you mean? Just
Were
generally?
you there with your girlfriend?
I was there with my girlfriend. Yeah.
What's her name?
Emily.
Emily. And Emily's a filmmaker.
Yeah, she is.
You talk on your channel about her film Cold, which it certainly looked that way.
Yeah.
And so you were there. What was your role in shooting your short film? And then I'll come back to how you interacted with her with all the boobs on the beach.
Yeah, we'll come back to the important stuff.
Yeah, let's come back to
But that was Emily's had that film funded by New Form Digital.
Yeah.
Been funding lots of people to make short films recently to hopefully get turned into series.
Did she wrote and directed it?
She wrote and directed that movie.
And what did you do?
I edited it.
But she was producing your early short films.
So she produced Offline for me as well. That's actually how we met. Before we were kind of like a couple. Is she made a film for me, which was very nice of her.
Then you're like, I want you to keep doing this, but instead of paying you, I'm just going to be your boyfriend.
No, not quite like that.
Okay.
But she did my subsequent films after that, Strangers in a Bed and Our Brother. She produced both of those. And so when the New Form Digital thing came around, it was very much just like, it's your turn to make a movie this time. And also, I don't know how to produce a film. That's not something I'm good at. So I want to be involved in a key role if I can. And so she asked me to edit it. As I've edited like a lot of my own short films as well. So it's something I had experience doing. And that was really fun, actually. Like I've never yet had, it was the first time I had that experience of like making a film that wasn't mine, right? Like it comes back to this kind of like being a control freak kind of thing, where I felt like I needed to be writing and directing my own movies in order to feel like I was like being creatively fulfilled. But so long as I'm working on something that I think is great, right? You don't like, and obviously editing is like a big role and you get to make a lot of cool creative choices. But I was ultimately not the person in control completely. But I trusted Emily and I thought the film was going to be good, so I still got a lot out of the experience of doing that.
And what was that process like? I mean, in being in a relationship but working on a project together, I mean, that can be stressful depending on the dynamic in the relationship, but then taking someone's vision and editing it, I mean, surely this led to some arguments of some kind. You're not a very argumentative guy, so you might be about to say we didn't argue at all, but what really happened?
I'll try and think and see if there are any instances where we did argue, but I honestly, it just sort of didn't happen. I feel like, I don't know what it is about mine and Emily's relationship, but we are just very, very good at just like flipping the switch and being like, okay, we're in work mode now, and now we're in relationship mode. And
so she didn't get mad at you when you were staring at the boobs? Breast gazing.
We were both staring,
Yeah, right.
They were there and
sometimes
in the world, and we thought, well, there they are. It's hard to take your eyes off sometimes when they're there. Lots of different sizes and shapes, and I think in that video I talked about a bit about like confidence and how I wish that I was comfortable enough to, share my breasts with the world. What were we talking about? The short film, or yeah,
well, the relationship. So okay, so if you don't find yourself, if there's not a lot of conflict in working together, how do you guys handle conflict in your relationship? Because you're very particular and opinionated guy, but you're also just you're a good, agreeable guy. You don't you don't seem like you get mad very often.
I really don't get mad very often. Like I don't think Emily or I really enjoy conflict very much. So, obviously, like all other relationships, we have points where we, have things we disagree on, but we get through it just fine. By not shouting at each other. That's not something we're interested in doing at all. Most of the time, I don't think that helps.
Have you ever shouted? Like, I can't picture it.
I can shout. I have done in the past. I've been known to, I think, on occasion. Really? But it doesn't happen super often.
I would be very scared of you if you were shouting. When it's like
out of nowhere.
When there's somebody who's like just very collected, and seems just very even keel.
Mm-hmm.
That person getting upset is like I don't want to be around the situation that got them upset about something.
I've definitely screwed up.
There's
no doubt. Right?
Yeah, I mean
that's the power you have, Charlie.
Yeah, it is. It's like somebody
gravitas.
It's like the person who doesn't speak a whole lot, but when they do say something, you listen.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely that person.
But you have that like emotionally. You have that. It's a superpower.
Yeah, I know that if I ever got to a point where I was like shouting at something about something because I was so angry, that's when I know that something is seriously wrong.
For real.
And everyone else does.
And I should be very worried.
One of the things that I kind of see in your vlogs, like when you're just being Charlie, is like we talked about your self-deprecating tone, but there's maybe a more specific way to describe it is you almost have an apologetic tone. It's just, there's this like, okay, guys, I got to tell you this thing, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it in a very entertaining and endearing way that's going to make you want to watch more of my videos. But I kind of seem like I'd rather not be doing this at the moment. That is a kind of a specific way I could describe it. Hopefully that doesn't come across as an insult. It's
no, not at all.
It's this apologetic, self-deprecating tone. But is that true that there is this like, okay, I'm kind of doing this because I know you want me to, and does that lead to your interest in doing the short film, which is a more, you're able to kind of create, like you said, it's a script and it's a different kind of art form, and you're able to present yourself and your ideas in a different way. Do you gravitate towards short film because of that?
I think that when it comes to like doing the short films, it's very much like, I'm a multifaceted, I'm a human being, right? I'm complicated. I have lots of thoughts and feelings. And when it came to the video blogging, there's a specific side of me that I can show through that. Like I very much want my video blogs to be pretty lighthearted and pretty, fun. And to be, something that will brighten someone's day. I really want that to be the case. And there are facets of my personality and things I think about that don't feel appropriate to talk about in kind of like a more kind of like serious manner. Like my last, short film I made was about death, and I wanted to talk about death in a very kind of like serious way, and about mourning and the importance of mourning correctly. And I didn't really feel like I could just sit and talk about that in a video blog. It doesn't feel right. Like I've actually made a video about death before on my YouTube channel, but it was still that kind of jovial, like here's a lighthearted look at it. And when I want to do something more serious, sometimes it feels more right to do it in kind of like a short form, like in a short film like format.
Well, and I will say, we haven't talked about this specifically, but when you screened Our Brother,
I was wondering if you'd bring this up. Yeah,
part 1 at Bufferfest. we of course, first of all, we're backstage and we can't really see. We can kind of get an idea of what it was about, and it seemed very serious, but you can't really hear it because you're behind the speakers and everything.
And just to give background, we are backstage because we are tasked to introduce the next act after your short film screens, and it was like
something very lighthearted.
But your film was, I mean, how would you describe the short film?
It's a pretty sad film, right? I mean, it's like the thing I want people to get out of it is I want them to cry at it. Like, if they do that, then I'm like, great, the film did its job.
Yes,
I
mission accomplished.
Yeah.
If everyone in the audience is crying.
Yeah, and also thinking about like mourning and the ways to do it properly, and what healthy mourning is and what unhealthy mourning is, and all of that sort of thing. Letting your feelings out. So it's a serious film. It is, and that's not to say that I want all of my films in the future to be like that at all. I just sort of wanted to try and see what it would be like if I tried to do just a straight up drama about a topic that I thought was going to be important to me.
But is the question, Rhett, is your question going to be, what was Charlie's response to what we did when we came out?
Well, so for those of you who weren't at Bufferfest, so Link and I had to get up there after Charlie's film, and then first of all, we are almost always just trying to be funny, so that's what people expect of us. And then we've got to introduce something that's kind of lighthearted. So backstage, we came up with the idea, and then we go out on stage, and Link says, first of all, I mean, the film's over, and people, I mean, it worked. What you tried to accomplish worked.
Oh, yeah.
You got everybody in this very emotional, serious place.
Put us in a tough spot, man.
And then Link says, wow, Charlie, that was hilarious. And then the tension just broke in the room, and it was the biggest laugh of the night.
That's the biggest laugh I've ever gotten. But I was concerned that it was like, I didn't want it to seem heartless, or like I didn't care.
We haven't talked about it since then.
Oh, no, we did. I'm pretty sure we did, didn't we?
We did?
I'm pretty
Maybe
sure
I
saw you briefly afterwards.
At Bufferfest, yes, we did.
I could tell that you were like worried about what you just done. Because, for like absolutely everyone else in that room, it's like exactly the thing you need to do. But for me specifically, you could be like, is this okay that we did this? And I laughed, so it's fine. Yeah. It really was. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's, with all the different creative endeavors and things you've done over the journey, let's talk about Serial Time.
Okay.
Which is a huge project that, you've just launched. And I'm interested, in doing a similar format. I know that it's a level of putting yourself out there that when you describe yourself as, you said you were a control freak, and you're a calculating artist in everything you do. That's been clear through our whole conversation. I'm curious, what's your interaction with putting yourself out there in that daily talk show format?
Right.
Was that scary?
Yeah, no, it was scary. Obviously, if people don't know about Serial Time, you might be quite familiar with the format because we've taken direct inspiration from you guys with Good Mythical Morning. And yeah, a big reason that I wanted to do it is I wanted to find a way where I could essentially be making a show that kind of played a bit more by the YouTube playbook. That would be, because there's a big demand on YouTube to be uploading regularly, and to be kind of like making content that's like keeping people on the website, and all of that stuff just didn't really fit with my own YouTube channel. And so I wanted to find a way where I could do that sort of thing where I would also be kind of like creatively fulfilled. Like a lot of YouTubers do that through doing daily vlogs, right? It's that same sort of thing where it's like long videos where you're really getting an insight into kind of like the kind of person that they are. That's the first thing I tried, right? Is I tried to I did like one weekly vlog, and really just didn't enjoy the process of doing it. And I don't know if you've ever tried that before, but it's like, I found that it really just disconnected me from my own life. It just really made I wasn't living presently in the moment at all. I didn't really remember the week that I had because I was trying to figure out the best way to film it the whole time. So the lovely thing about the format for me is it's like, it allows me to kind of be like, I feel like on Serial Time I'm a bit more of myself than I am kind of like on my main YouTube channel, or at least it's a different facet of myself that people don't normally get to see, because it is all happening in pretty much in one take. If I stumble, then we tend to leave that stuff in. And so it kind of like it shows people like a slightly, I think, maybe more authentic version of how I am. Like if you were to kind of like actually chat with me in person, it feels more like that.
But that's the risk, right?
It is
that you had to calculate, that you were willing to take.
Yeah, and I think that this is the tricky thing to get over, I think, and it's an important thing to kind of like bear in mind, I think, for like all video bloggers, is like people are really looking for like authenticity, right? And we can say that like with video blogging, it's like it is very authentic a lot of the time. You are seeing real people talking, But also when it comes to video blogging, you know, you want to kind of like heavily edit it. You want to kind of like script it. You want to make it feel like, you know, a piece that you're sharing with people. And sometimes that means that you're not kind of like completely sharing the kind of person you actually are all the time, because that is a really scary thing to do. But it's also, I think, what people really like to see. They want to see, like, you know, I think kind of like some of the most like interesting insights into people come from like fly on the wall documentaries where the person in the subject of the film does not have any control over how that film is going to come across, right? Those are just like such interesting character pieces. So it was important to me to find a way where I could like try and be more of myself and have a bit less control over like that sort of thing to show people like a more authentic version of who I actually am. It might be scary for me, but I hope that people would be more interested in seeing that.
And what's been the reaction from fans of seeing that side of you presented in that way?
I think they like it, for sure. Yeah, they're having a lot of fun doing it. I haven't really experienced quite as much like engagement before as I did with Serial Time. Like, you know, and that's the thing we try and focus a lot when we're making the show as well, is to figure out ways that we can kind of include people in the show as much as possible. And as a result, a lot of people kind of like do seem to want, like, I feel like I get more fan art for Serial Time than I do for myself, right? People just seem like really interested in getting involved. So that's a side of it that, like, you know, I tend to try and measure like success generally on YouTube, not by like views, but by like engagement, and not by just like how many likes or comments, but like the kind of engagement that is hard to measure, like people doing fan art or people kind of like creating stuff based on things that you've made, or like wanting to go to your shows, like those kind of like more abstract kind of things. That if I see that, then I'm like, okay, this means that people are really kind of like interested in the thing. And that makes me feel better than, you know, I prefer to have like 1,000 people who just like really, really care about what I'm doing than like 1 million people just kind of like passively watch a video of mine.
Well, there is a reward for putting yourself out there, you know, so we wish you the best in that. And we appreciate you putting yourself out there here, man. And so, yeah, our friendship goes way back. So it's cool to finally sit down and get the full story. So
yeah,
thanks for hanging out, man.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Perfectly serviceable?
Better than perfectly serviceable.
Great. And there you have it, our ear biscuit with Charlie McDonnell. Charlie is so cool, like, true statement.
Yes, he is so cool, like what?
Like
Just
cool,
be cool.
like things
He's just
that are cool.
Like cool.
Tweet at Charlie. Let him know what you think about our conversation. Hashtag earbiscuits. His Twitter handle is CoolLike. COOL. Is there another L than an IKE? I think there's a double L right in there.
Yeah, that's 2 L's.
COO.
Like cool and like.
Yeah.
It's not cool like, it's cool and like.
Yeah, he actually got that. COO, double L, single I, single K, single E.
You don't have to say the single
That's
typically.
how I remember it.
Like we said when we were talking to Charlie, I think we mentioned this a couple of times. He has this thoughtfulness to the way he approaches things and this self-deprecating humor and approach to things that I think is, as he demonstrated even in our conversation today, it's one of the things that makes him a likable guy. He's easy to like because he's good at what he does. He's entertaining at the stuff that when he creates something to entertain you, it actually entertains you. But you
As opposed to what?
Well, I mean,
you talking about general YouTube stuff?
No, I'm just saying that, you know, he's good at what he does. Okay. Period. But that doesn't, being good at what you do doesn't make you likable. If you're good at what you do, but he has this, he kind of second guesses himself. Like he doesn't think a whole lot of himself, and that is an attractive quality. I think that's why one of the reasons he built a fan base that wants to connect with him personally, because he just doesn't seem like a guy who's full of himself. I'm not saying that like most YouTubers are full of themselves. Just every once in a while you talk to somebody who just seems like this person really is humble. He wouldn't describe himself in that way because if you're really humble, you shouldn't call yourself humble. Oh, you can't be prideful about being humble.
That's
but he's
22.
Truly, as they would say in the old South, an humble without the H guy.
Have you ever heard anyone actually say humble?
My grandmother-in-law.
Really?
Says humble. Yep.
Really?
She's from the old South, man. She still calls it the War of Northern Aggression.
Oh gosh.
I mean, this is old South.
Well, we should have asked Charlie about that. I'm sure he'd have lots of good thoughts. Yeah, I mean, he really holds himself in such a way that I know that anything he says, he's thought through it.
Right.
You know, he kind of has that gravitas about him, which is interesting for a comedic voice.
Maybe we
kinda have
could
that.
learn something from that, Link.
But don't you think it's an interesting combination of self-deprecating is a form of humor, but there's something else that's like this thoughtful gravitas that I will call it, which is not it's not common in the world of comedy.
Metered, self-metered.
Okay,
Is that a word? Did I make that up?
With that. Charlie, let us know
He's a gas meter.
if you've ever been described as metered. I don't even know what it means, but I'm gonna Charlie.
Measured.
Charlie is so metered-like.
Charlie is so measured.
That's going to be his iPhone channel, which people used to do
We should
that.
reserve that for him.
All right, guys. We're actually opening a new shop where we start to speculatively reserve YouTube channels for iPhone vlog accounts for people who are so late to the game they're never going to do that.
Okay.
We tried that for a little bit. That's what our second channel started off as. I'm digressing.
Yeah.
And you guys
should regress right back to
the
this.
music is playing me out of my own ear biscuit.
And
How rude.
I'm gonna
Kevin.
cut an egress right through to the end of this thing. How many egress words can we come up with?
As you guys are exiting through the outro, we will.
No, it has to have egress in it.
Oh,
you digress, you regress. I'm gonna make some progress. You through my egress to the end, but I digress.
And all you egrets should leave a review on iTunes, and that's helpful for us. Also, comment on SoundCloud. It's SoundCloud. I said ClownCloud, and I don't know. I'm going to reserve
Please
that.
join us next month at Clown Cloud.
Desperate times call for being in
gosh.
desperate places.
Let's just end this.
Yeah.